IT people, I think that they locked our environment down so much to ensure job security that still to this day, we're uncovering some of those layers that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. People that put themselves in that position of, I need to be relied on in order to keep my job, that's not a good leader. Leaders should be leading so that somebody else can eventually take over for them. At the end of the day, we want our staff to feel like they can work, and we want their process to be as seamless as possible. We don't want to create all of these hurdles. Yes, we know security is important, but we don't want our staff to feel like they can't work. I've actually known Tate and Chris for quite a while. Back at one of my previous firms, we had started to look for outside IT consulting. Tate wasn't my first introduction to an outside service. We had looked at other services, and one of the people that we had gone with turned out to not be a great fit for us. We had, way back when ransomware was a big deal, somebody steal our data. We were down for 3 business days, which is a pretty big deal in professional services. So I started looking around, and really just word of mouth. Somebody knew Chris Nordstrom, and I met with Chris and I met with Tate. So I worked really closely with Tate and really just kind of looking at our organization and our structure, and decided to go with them because they had serviced a lot of A&E firms, and that's really what we're looking for. One of my jobs here at BCRA and what I was brought in for is looking at efficiencies and how can we streamline some of our processes. Are we really doing the best job that we can from a business standpoint? And we really were not the size of the firm to fully support in-house IT staff. So I started looking, and of course, the first person that popped into my mind when we were deciding whether we were going to outsource IT was Tate, because I was used to working with him and I was confident that he could provide the service that we were looking for. So I met with Tate and I met with Chris multiple times, brought them in, had them meet with our leadership team. They really enjoyed talking with him. I think he really connected well with our leadership team. And we decided to go ahead and move forward with outsourcing our IT services. Also, response time is a big thing. So even when we had somebody in-house that was supporting us, it was like, well, I can only get to one person at a time because there's only so many hours in the day. So when you've got 2 on-site people supporting 80 employees, it doesn't really make sense from a financial standpoint, but also just from a timing standpoint. It's like, my computer's broken, I can't work, time is money, I can't bill a project because I'm billing to overhead right now. BCRA would say was Fort Knox. We had very strict and tight security protocols, maybe a little too strict and a little too tight. So there was a lot of undoing. And I just felt so confident and comfortable in talking with them. I gave them multiple examples of, well, this is going to be this challenge. How are you going to solve for this? I gave them every possible example I could come up with. And when we first launched with Sentry, there were just lots of layers of things that needed to be addressed. So we really spent probably 4 months uncovering all the layers, just being in this business for 20 plus years. I think just the comfort level and Sentry really focusing on design firms was really stand out to me. That's what really stood out for BCRA, that they know how we work and they know how critical it is to be up and running at all times. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to go with Sentry. They've got the client base. They gave me references. I did talk with one reference just for peace of mind, but I think just their reputation and being able to support design firms was enough for us to go ahead and say, yes, this is the right choice for us. We feel like we are the only client, and they always make us feel we are the top priority. I tell our account manager, Nick, quite often that we are a needy organization. When we want something done, we want it done now. We have the level of service with them that I can call them or email them over the most minute thing, and they understand that it is a top priority. It doesn't get pushed to the back burner, and I think that is really important. In terms of dollars, that's been the biggest impact. We're at about $365,000 in savings since we've moved to Sentry. That's a very large chunk of our operating expenses. One of the great things that I love about Sentry is that I get 2 invoices each month from them that covers everything, one for security and one for licensing. And that for me is wonderful. I don't have 30 different invoices coming from multiple avenues. I just get one and I can review it and I know that it's accurate. So that in and of itself saving me time. And I know recently Sentry kind of shifted toward having a dedicated team to each of their clients. And I love that. I think that's really helpful so that there are notes on each account of what to do and how to do it, but having the same people emailing, the same people calling is really helpful for our staff just to get to know that person, so it's not just another tech calling to support, it's more of that personal connection to our staff. I think one of the things that I've been working with Chris and Tate on is budgeting for our IT expenses, and that has been really beneficial to see what are we spending, where are we spending, and why are we spending, not only for in-house salaries, overhead, benefits, all of the admin costs, but also software savings of just looking at what we're spending. So I feel like there's still room for more cost savings into 2026. Sentry is a trusted partner for us, so I rely heavily on recommendations, and I don't have the time to go research the next great thing or the next product. I rely on the expertise of Sentry, and I feel comfortable enough to where I can rely on that and I can believe in that. I will question things. Don't get me wrong. If somebody says, I think we should do this, I will ask a lot of questions. There's this next new software that's coming out. Sentry helped me figure out if this is the right fit for BCRA. We want our staff to feel like they are supported in that manner. And I think Sentry does that for us. I would tell them to really first look to see if the company could support that. I think you'd have to be pretty large to be able to support the salary and just all of the overhead that goes into hiring somebody. But more importantly, aside from the costs, are they really going to get the best solution having one or two in-house people versus having a team, a resource to look to? I had a situation where we use Deltek for our accounting software. And it took probably 3 different people at Sentry to figure out how to fix the problem. So just having that team of resources is probably more invaluable than just having one person or 2 people's individual knowledge to be able to say, okay, I can't quite solve this. Who else has the experience in this? Who else has been dealing with this? I think that's more valuable than having just one on-site in-house person. I think people think about a base salary as part of that equation, but it's not just the base salary. It's all the things that go into hiring somebody. It's their benefits, it's their 401k, it's their medical, it's all of those things. And then you've got that cost associated with all of your licensing and all of those things. That IT person is going to have to manage all of the back end, not just supporting the person. I would ask the client, what are some of the bumps that you've encountered? Because nobody's perfect. There are hiccups along the way, but how did they solve for it? How did they make it right? Is it something that was a little hiccup or was it a really big bump in the road? Are they going to be a good partner? Are you going to feel like you are their only client? And I do feel like that with Sentry. I feel like Nick, Tate, and Chris, they make me feel like I'm their number one priority.